Should I buy a house during a recession? So first of all, if you guys like the content or you feel it's helpful, please like and subscribe. If you guys have specific topics you really want to hear me talk on, please drop it in the comments. Okay, recession. Right? We're in a recession. I mean, the government's saying we're not, but I'm going to argue that we are. So, should you buy a house in a recession? Maybe. Let's talk about it. So here are the pros and the cons. So the first thing is people are terrified right now. Whenever there's fear, there's opportunity. That's something very important to note. So if most people are thinking that the housing market's going to crash and there's going to be huge deals, there's a lot of people sitting on the fence. And when people are sitting on the fence, it can be a great opportunity to actually get a deal. And that's what I'm seeing right now. And it's important to note, it depends on where in the country you are. There's parts of the country where the housing market is still on fire like it's 2021. There's other parts of the country where we're starting to see, sellers pay closing cost credits, price reductions. We're starting to see, where there were 20 offers, there's 1 or 2. So we are seeing a shift in certain portions of the country. And people go, well, if the recession gets really bad, isn't it going to be a better opportunity to buy then? Maybe. So here you go. The first thing I would say is that if you're concerned about your company because of what's going on with the economy, I would advise maybe waiting, right? If there's a possibility that you're not going to have a job in 2 weeks or a month, you may want to wait. And the reason I say that is there's nothing worse than getting into a brand new house and then finding out that you don't have a job. Okay. Now, if you're renting, you have the same issue as to how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for this? But if you're renting, you also have some more flexibility in that you could try to find a less expensive place to live. Or, let's say that you get let go from your job, but there's a great opportunity in another state, right? You could move states. So there's more flexibility when you're renting. So if you think, like if you're commission, right? If you're commission and you're like, wow, like sales have gotten really tough, my income's down right now, I would advise waiting, wait until you feel stronger financially. And that's really the key to all of this is that whenever you're buying a house, you want to feel strong financially. Okay? Like, should mortgage lenders and realtors be buying houses this year? Most of them no. They've had income declines from last year to this year. So they're not in a strong financial position and it's going to be a problem qualifying anyways. So that's something that you guys need to know too. So let's say that you are commission and last year you had a huge year and this year you have a big decline. Okay? With most loan programs, a decline in income will make it so that you do not qualify because they will think the income is not stable. Okay? So that's something really important to note that people don't think about. They just go, oh, well, 21 was a great year. And it's like, look, if I have, let's say, a 5-year history and I can show like 21 was just magical, their average is closer to what they're doing now, then I can prove income stability. But if, 2020 was terrible, 2021 was gangster, and year to date is, 2020-ish, they're not going to necessarily know how to quantify that income. So if you guys are thinking, well, Jen, I really want to buy, but that does sound like me, make sure you're talking to a lender about it up front. You guys can always call me. My cell phone number is like basically written everywhere. I'm happy to talk to you about it, but it's something that I think we'll see more of. So number one, job stability is so important. You want to have the flexibility where if something happens with your company or something happens with your job, you can either move into more affordable housing or move to a location where you can get a better job. Okay, so if you have job stability issues, I would argue it is not a good time to buy a house in a recession. Okay, the next thing is inflation is out of control, right? So if right now, let's say your rent is $2,000 a month and you're like, Jen, my job is secure. Okay, cool. But if your rent's $2,000 a month and you're having a hard time making ends meet and you're using credit cards, and you're like, well, I really want to buy, I've got some money saved for that, so I'm just using my credit cards for food right now, and the housing payment's going to be higher than your rent, I would probably say to hold off as well. I know I am a mortgage lender actively talking you out of buying houses right now. But look, if you're having to use credit cards for your daily expenses because you don't want to touch that down payment money, unless that down payment money is going to get you into lower cost housing, right? You're just going to be putting yourself in a worse position. So you really want to make sure that you're doing stuff. I've said it in other videos. I am a huge fan of mint.com. I think that, yeah, they have ads. Of course they do. Do I think you should pay attention to the ads? No, but I think their software is excellent. It's been around for a long time. They have great security. It's so good at helping you guys financially plan. Also seeing where your money's going. A lot of times people think, oh, well, I'll just cut something. Like I can cut it, I can change it. But then when they actually sit down, they go, oh, I can't. Okay, so that's something else I would bring up. If you're really being impacted by inflation, you're having to use credit cards to live on because you don't want to touch that down payment, I would say don't do the credit card debt. We need stuff to stabilize and get your financial house back in a stable position before you take that next move towards homeownership. Okay. And look, these are my personal opinions. There's 19 lenders that will tell you, don't worry about it. You'll be okay. But I'm really proud of the fact that I haven't had a client call me and say that I led them to a foreclosure. So I would like to keep that. Okay. So what else? Okay. Let's say that you have money in the bank. You have, a down payment, or if you're VA, you don't even need a down payment, but you're like, Jen, my job is stable. Maybe you're on fixed income, right? And maybe inflation isn't impacting you, or if it is, it's a limited level, right? People who don't have to commute for work are definitely having an easier time than people who have to drive 100 miles a day. Gas prices, right? People who, are in lower cost food areas are definitely doing better than people in higher cost food areas. So there's a lot at play there. So you may be in a very good position to buy right now. And it's a nice time in the market. And I don't know how long it's going to last. I was talking to a client about this yesterday. I know, how can one person talk this much? But I was like, right now people are still a little frightened of rates. Okay. And sellers are starting to be realistic in most parts of the country. Once again, there's still a couple areas that are crazy, but overall, we had the beginning of the year where sellers still thought it was 2021 and they were trying to ask, even higher prices than then. And then we've had to kind of reset their expectations. And I think we're at the point the sellers' expectations are almost totally reset. The real estate agents, for the large part, are realizing it's not the same as 2021. And the rates are scaring a lot of people. Also, you've got job potential instability, you've got inflation issues, so there can be some good deals to be had. And I think that's the way to always approach real estate. I don't think there's a bad time or a good time in the market to buy. Like, look, if it's foreclosure city, of course, great. But a lot of times, and I did this myself, so I didn't buy in 2010, 11, and 12 because I thought we were going to have another crash. I was in a market where I was watching the housing prices go up and people's income was stagnant. So I was like, how is this going to work? It just takes one, and we're foreclosure city. That market still has not dropped to this day. Okay, so I misjudged that. And do I regret it? No, because look, it was part of my journey and it led me to the house that I now own. And that's what you guys need to think about. It's not a good or bad time in terms of market timing. Trying to time the market generally doesn't work. There's always someone that's like, oh, I timed it. Really? Did you? Did you? I don't know. There's so many people that claim to be experts that literally have read 5 articles on real estate and then they just do clickbait things on YouTube. So I would say the way to look at housing is how stable are you financially? Okay, because we don't want to put you in a worse position. We want your house to be a benefit, not a burden. Okay, I do think there's opportunity out there right now if you're looking for a house. Okay, but I always think you should never buy a house you don't want as well. I don't think you should settle for a house that you don't want. I was texting with another client this morning and he's like, hey Jen, can you look at this house and see what you think? He's like, it needs new floors and they just had sinkhole remediation. No, just look, is it their dream house? It's not. So why would you even, why? Just why? Buy a house that when you think about it, you smile, right? You smile. When I think about my house, I love it now. I actually hated it when I bought it. But think about a house that makes you smile. Okay, whether you're smiling because you know it's going to be a great payment that's going to put you in a better financial position, whether you're smiling because it's closer to work so it's going to cut down your commute, whether you're smiling because you're excited that you're going to get to paint the bathrooms and you're not going to have to deal with the guy upstairs who wears boots all the time and walks around, you know, something exciting about it. Don't buy a house to buy a house. I see that. I saw a lot of it in 2021. I talked a lot of clients out of doing that. Do not buy a house to buy a house. Buy a house because it brings some element of joy or financial improvement to your life. So I hope this video has been helpful. As always, I am licensed in 48 states to do mortgages. I do consults, guys. You don't have to fill out an application to talk to us. Alyssa on my teams talks to people every single day. I've got a calendar that's open. Book. If you guys just want to talk about it and be like, Jen, what do you think of this? I will always be honest with my opinion, but keep in mind, it's my opinion and you'll see different opinions across the internet. So thanks for watching, guys. I will see you soon.